And now we got to bring in our regular, Gary Erickson. I muted you, by the way, so unmute. And Gary is the managing partner for Executive Search Partners. Bring him on the show to talk about what's going on with IT recruiting. And I think when I asked you what you wanted to talk about, I think that was one of the topics you wanted to touch on. I mean, and Gary doesn't. It isn't like he's hiring entry-level folks. This is like CIOs, CISOs. I mean, I'm using acronyms here, but these are the high-level folks that actually run what's the IT department that goes on at a company. And so with those folks in mind, what's happening right now? Is it because it was kind of slow there? Is it picking up now?
Well, there's two answers to your question. One is time of year. There's always a cycle to the hiring cycle, which always slows down from November through the middle of February. It's the holidays and budget cycles within companies. So we're beginning to see a slight pickup in hiring. And then, of course, the macro, what's going on with the economy. And the economy has been surprisingly resilient. And we're not seeing, when we started to see inflation coming along, CFOs were saying, let's slow down on what we're hiring. We think most CIOs have stopped that. They're saying, let's go forward, let's hire. So I'm predicting that even though 2022 is a pretty robust year for hiring, I think 2023 will come close. Maybe not be at the same level, but certainly not don't play this back 6 months from now, okay?
Oh no, we're gonna catch you on this 6 months from now. You said back in February. No, go ahead.
That's right. Yeah. I think it's going to be a good market this year for people. Go on. I'm sorry, Matt.
No, that's all right. I was just going to make a joke that we're all good at predicting everything except the future. So
yes, there you go. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I think that the other macro trend, I don't know how many macro trends I'm going to talk about here, but IT is certainly core to every single company that's out there. And thanks to the pandemic, that accelerated the senior management's understanding of why IT is so important to the company. Think about any company out there that is doing anything and ask how many of them would survive, much less thrive, if they didn't use computer systems. And the answer is, I can't think of any.
No, I can't either.
And so the senior level IT people who get business, who understand how to run an IT organization, right? Which is, it's both sides of that are important. You got to know how to run the railroad. You got to know how to implement new stuff. You've got to be part of the senior executive team. You got to understand what the business is all about. You got to help the business understand how they can gain more customers, how they can be more efficient in what they're doing, how they can integrate with other industries, how they can engage customers over the long term. There's a number of things that a knowledgeable CIO can help somebody do. So the trend is that companies are hiring senior IT executives who get the business. So how many three macro trends? Sorry, go on. Sorry.
So do those people generally come out of the IT department, or do they come out of a business background and tack on the IT later, or is it just depend on the individual?
That's an incredibly difficult question to answer, and I'm not buttering you up. That's a very insightful one.
No, I think he's buttering you up, man, but go ahead.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, he's got the same amount of hair as I do, so you can understand.
Right,
yeah. Okay. So I think that the who ends up running IT, there's an awful lot of technical details behind running IT. There's an awful lot of operation skills that you've got to have. So I don't see somebody coming in from maybe marketing, for example, and running IT, but maybe somebody who's been really good at manufacturing, understands processes, tools, measurements, engaging the customers, growing your organization and managing people. Those are all critical for a successful CIO, on top of knowing the business.
So go ahead.
I'm sorry, let me say one other thing. We haven't mentioned this yet, but there's a new technology, all this artificial intelligence stuff, which is personified by a chat IPT, right? That people have been talking about, and I tried using it recently, and I said, well, okay, I'm going to say I think CIOs ought to be company presidents. Why is that? Well, if you're a good CIO, you got to understand the business and you got to know how to run things. So why can't they be company president? So I went to Chat GPT and I said, write me an article on that. And it did. Yeah, like in 30 seconds. And I cut and pasted that into a LinkedIn posting. And I've had more impressions of that article that I put out there than anything I've ever posted by far. Side issue.
Yeah, someone I know who is an English professor at a college on the East Coast did the same thing, where they gave a writing assignment to their freshman composition class, and also gave it to Chat GPT, and Chat GPT would have gotten an A- B+, on their composition. I mean, it's at least writing at freshman college level now, and it's pretty scary, actually.
Yeah, we had Richard Steenan on the show last week, and he talked about how phishing attacks are now used, because people are just amazed that all of a sudden they're getting these very sophisticated and very in-depth offers, or try. In other words, the phishing attack is directly at, rather than spamming the world, at that individual, and they've got all this really personal information in it. And I've seen comments on Facebook where the people are getting freaked out, like, how do they know this stuff about me? And I think it's really Chat GPT that's being used.
Yeah. Well, they can scan LinkedIn and your Facebook profile and maybe your Instagram and your Twitter and pull all that stuff together. And they know a lot of stuff about all of us as a result of that.
Yeah. So now, should these be used to write a resume? I think that was one of the points you wanted to make too, was should one use a artificial intelligence to write their resume, or is that not very intelligent?
Well, no, I think that's very intelligent. I think, I don't know where this is all going to end up, but I think that using something like a Chat GPT to help you create something initially, so it helps you with organization, it helps you with a lot of major points, does research for you, and then you overlay that with your own experience on that. Now, I have not yet seen a good resume writing artificial intelligence system out there, but I bet one's coming. They ask you a bunch of questions and it's going to pull it together. The most important point, though, about resumes, and I think that's maybe one of the things we were going to talk about, Mike, was if you're out looking for a job, how do you maximize the chance that you're going to get one?
Right.
And your resume, people have generic resumes and they overlay it with a cover letter and think the cover letter is going to be read by people, and it isn't. If your resume is very specific to the job that you're applying for and it shows why you're a good fit, it's a much higher chance you're being considered. So maybe you can use Chat GPT and feed it the job description and feed it your resume and say, pulling them together and create me a job focus for that specific one. So when I apply, I look like what I'm talking about for that industry, that position, that set of responsibilities.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last time you were here, is that you don't leave anything out of the resume that you're going to include as a little nugget in the cover letter and assume that the cover letter is going to be read, because a lot of times they aren't, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're recommending, I think I said this in the last show, that somebody put near the very top of their resume what we're calling the in-resume cover letter and list 4 or 5 points why you're a good fit for the position that you're applying for. Get you a much higher chance that somebody's going to look at that resume.
Speaking of which, last time I asked this question, when you did post jobs, you were getting hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes for a particular job. Is that still the case?
It depends on the job and the location. So we've done searches for companies that are in the middle of nowhere, and it's very hard to get people to apply for those, especially if they want somebody on site full time. But when we go to a place like Detroit, as an example, and post a senior level IT job, we still get hundreds of people applying because it's a very attractive title, very attractive job. A lot of people see that as a next step for them. A lot of people are looking for maybe a better opportunity, a better company. So we get a lot of resumes.
Well, I used to hear that it was difficult to get the people to apply for jobs in the Detroit area because of the area's reputation, but I know that's turned around recently, right?
I think, yes, that's true. I think Detroit's reputation continues to improve, and I think the downtown area has done some significant improvements and changes. Most of the time when we're trying to find people to relocate from one place to another, they don't want to relocate. It doesn't matter whether it's Detroit or, somebody's in Detroit, they don't necessarily want to relocate to Chicago, as an example, or New York City. So we tend to focus all of our searches on the local area. And then the one other thing that would affect this would be, what about remote people?
Yeah, that was in my next question. Yeah, right. So,
see, I knew what you were going to say, Mike.
Yeah, I know. You can read my mind. Go ahead.
Yeah.
He's been on the show a lot.
Yeah, so. Right.
I think the remote is okay. People are doing it for certain jobs, maybe programming where you're part of a programming team, but at the senior level, it's at worst. We're seeing 2 days a week on site. At best, they're requiring people to be on site 4 to 5 days, or the other way around. Whatever way you want it to be. If you want to be remote, then at worst, you're going to have to be on site 4 to 5 days a week. So we're concentrating all of our searches in the area where the position is. So no matter what the company decides to do, the person has the opportunity to go into the office without having to fly in and fly back and forth.
Are the hybrid jobs, again, if it's in, you're in the Detroit area and you want to just go into the office a couple times a week, are employers receptive to that?
Yeah, we're seeing that the general hybrid model is 2 to 3 days a week in the office. But I think the working remote from home is here to stay. I think people like that. I think it helps a lot of. It helps people when they're at home get things done. It helps people manage their life better. It makes the company more attractive to them. Maybe even saves office space. I don't know. I don't think people have taken advantage of the saving office space much yet, but they probably will.
Yeah, and even some of the people that are the most high tech, like Elon Musk, is now apparently reading is requiring everybody to come in. You can't work remote anymore, which kind of strikes me as odd. But a lot of things he does. Yeah.
I think Marissa Mayer at Yahoo started that several years ago when she said, no more remote workers. You got to be in the office. This was before the pandemic. And I think that people know that it's better for people to have water cooler conversations and get to know each other in person, as well as have the time to be able to work on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The guy from United Wholesale Mortgage who just bought the Phoenix Suns is a big proponent of that as well. He demands that people come into the office now too. So, and that's a mortgage company, and a lot of mortgages are done virtually now. So,
makes no sense. But I guess the camaraderie, blah, 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 and all that stuff. I mean, Matt and I come out of newsrooms where you're right on top of each other all day long, right? Except when you're out actually pursuing a story. I suppose.
Yeah, I had editors that didn't want us in the newsroom that much because, as he said, the news isn't here; it's happening out there. Get out there.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, not at the Free Press. They wanted butts in the seats. So, but anyway, that was many, many years ago, and I'm sure that's probably changed. So, all right, we're coming down to the end. I know how to reach out to you, Gary, but now you got all these other people that do. How do they do that?
Well, the easiest way to remember how to get us is to go to our website, execsearchpartners.com, execsearchpartners.com. And there we've got all our contact information on how to get hold of any of the several partners. And we're probably going to announce the addition of some new partners in the next month or so.
Wow,
great.
To our company.
And if I recall, you've also got some great tips there on how to properly, apply for these jobs, right?
Yep. Thank you. We've got resources for candidates out there, a sample resume that includes this in-resume cover letter that I mentioned earlier, and a document called, used to be 7 steps for a highly successful job search, thinking about your previous guest, but I kept adding things on, and now it's 12 steps for a highly successful job search. It's really, if I don't say so myself, it's a very, 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 very good document.